All right, everybody, welcome to the live broadcast. I'm going to be doing signs and billboards. So I'll wait a few more minutes for a couple more people to come in, and I'm going to get started. All right, looks like we have a couple people in here, so I'm going to get started in just a minute. All right, so let's get going here. So I'm going to start off with basically what you need as far as tools and paints and stuff like that. So obviously we need cutting tools. Anytime you work with cutting tools, pretty common sense to be careful. But in this case, we're going to make sure that we have a nice new clean blade. That's important. And the reason for that is when we're cutting out the signs, we don't rip the signs. All right. We also going to need a metal ruler. I like using the scale rulers because they're nice and thin. Transfer tape, which is a double-sided tape made by 3M. You can get this from Foscale Models or railroadkits.com. They both carry it. All right. So I will try to pay attention to the chat as much as I can. So hello, James. Hello, Michael. All right. Let's see what else is on my list here. White glue. The glue I'm using is Well-Bond glue. Right. There's just another white glue that's out there. You can get this at Michael's. It's a nice little 2-ounce container of it. You also can get it in bigger quantities, but this stuff is great if you're building Craftsman kits. All right. And we have some cardstock for mounting the signs on. This is regular stuff. You can use the stuff that's on the back of a notepad. You can get thinner stuff. You can also use a manila folder as well. We're also going to use some strip wood. I just had some scraps from a project I have. This is a scale 2x4. And let's see what else is on my list. Alcohol Indie ink wash. All right. I only have a little bit left, but this is the medium. And the medium from mixture is 1 pint to 2 tablespoons of India ink. Let's see. A nail file and sandpaper. This is going to be used for distressing. So you can use a 220 sandpaper, or you can use a nail file. You can get these at CVS or Walgreens. This actually is for, this one here particularly is for pets. So, but I'll show you what these can do on your signs. Brushes, I mean, whatever brushes you use, different types of brushes. For the rusting, we're going to use a fan brush, and then just a regular, like a 1/2 inch soft round brush is fine for dry brushing. Let's see, white and gray paint, craft paint is fine. You don't have to go too crazy buying paint, but the cheap stuff will work. Gouaches. Now this stuff here, you can see them. Hopefully that's nice and clear. You can buy they're made by Winsor and Newton, and you buy these at Michael's. These are $10 a tube, but I've had these tubes for a couple of years now, so they will last you a long time. So, designer gouache, and the reason why I like using those, you get the same effect as you would with an oil paint, and I'll show you in a minute on those. And popsicle stick and a grout sponge. You go to the section of Home Depot where the grout is for your tiles, and these are a couple of dollars. You want to get a grout sponge. All right, so why don't we start off with where you get signs from. You can buy signs on the commercial side, or you can go and look online, and you can find a whole bunch of different signs, as I did here. All right, and just print them off. So why don't we start off with billboards? We're going to do cut these pieces off, or cut these pieces out that I'm going to use, and then I will show you different examples of what we're going to do. So the first one I'm going to do is this one here. It was like a beer billboard. So we're going to cut this one out, and then we're going to use this sign here, and then this sign here. So these out of the way. And we're going to sign them off, or cut them out. So just bear with me, and I'll be right back as soon as I can, but I got to cut these out. Actually, before I do that, I got to put my transfer tape on. So transfer tape is very easy to use. You just put it on the back of where the sign's going to be. And you cut them up. Now, billboards can get mounted on top of buildings, behind buildings, or they could be freestanding. Let me cut this out once more here. So for this one here, we're just going to make it a type that mounts on a building. Okay, so it's cut out, and also it's got the sticky stuff already on the back. And I'll show you how that works in a second, but let me cut out the rest of these signs. Looks like we got 4 people in here today, which is fine. I'm going to go over weathering as well. So this presentation is probably going to be about an hour. If you're wondering how long you're going to be in here for. Cut out the rest of these signs here. I'm going to simulate signs that go on clapboard, which will look like they're painted on a building. And I will go over how to make a sign look like it's metal. There's a Valvoline sign. I like working with this material, just older signs, as I modeled the New Haven. So I like the older style signs, but I will go over a modern sign. You want to make sure when you're cutting them out, they're somewhat straight and square. And there's another bear sign. All right, so we'll put these away. All right, so now let's mount them on the actual material we're going to use them on. So this is going to be a regular billboard. So we're going to mount it on the cardstock. And what you do with the transfer tape is you just, one side's sticky, actually both sides are sticky. And what you do is just peel back. This will stick to everything. So you want to make sure when you stick it on the actual cardstock, it's somewhat straight. You may have to trim it again. I'm off camera here. Sorry about that. All right. So then you got to cut it out once more. It's kind of like an extra step, but this is going to be a very easy and quick way to make a billboard. And after I do all these different techniques, I'll show you what they actually look like on structures. I got to get one thing here. So I want to make sure that it's square. And if you're really fussy like me, you want to make sure that your sign is square, which it is. That needs to be trimmed just a little bit. If you have to make an adjustment, you can. But here's your billboard. All right. Now, this sign here, I'm not going to mount it to anything because this is going to be going on the clapboard. This sign here is going to be going on the actual manila folder material. So I'm going to cut off a piece of manila folder. And then you do the same thing with this. You just stick it on. Okay, so now it's on the manila folder, and you're going to cut it out once more. All right. Just going to make sure that it's somewhat square. Looks good. It looks good. All right. So now there's different ways to weather signs. You can do it a couple different ways. You can use a distressing tool, which is a little bit of sandpaper. You can use a dry brushing, or you can use a wash. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I grab the camera. All right. That example right there is going to be a distressing, dry brushing, and basically just a wash. And then when you do all three together, that's what it's going to look like. This example here is using a distressing and a gouache. So I'm going to show you how to do that too. So this metal sign here, make sure I don't lose my camera. Sorry about that. Okay. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to distress it. Now, when you distress it, you can use the nail file and just go in one direction, very lightly. You don't need a lot. You can see how it's very distressed. Then what you're going to do, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, you need some toothpicks. You're going to take your gouache. Now this stuff has very high pigment levels. That's why it's so nice to use. And if you think about this as a rusted sign, usually signs are rusted on the edges. And then sometimes they pit. Rust pops up in the middle somewhere. You just got to put a little bit right there. Okay, so I'm answering a question from the switch list. You can buy them commercially, or you can just find them online. And then, of course, you can just do the edges as well. All right. Now, the next step is you want to take your fan brush and dip it in water. Now, I'm using the same water as I clean my brushes with, so it doesn't really matter. There's whatever kind of water you have is fine. And then what I want to do with that brush is get most of the water off. I just want to create a damp brush. So now what you do, you just drag it down. The ones I'm showing you is I found them online and I printed them with a laser printer. Let me see if I can hold this with a pair of tweezers. So this is definitely a rusted, streaky sign. All right. That sign is done, so that's a metal sign. I mean, you can spend a little bit more time and use different colored gouaches, but it definitely creates that nice effect. And I'm going to let that dry. And what's nice about the gouache is it dries pretty quick. All right. So the next thing I want to show you is how to put them on clapboard. So if you're into craftsman kits and you want to put these on clapboard, you want to make sure actually the clapboard is facing the right direction. All right. And then what you do is you just put it on the actual clapboard. Okay. Okay. So now the sign looks like it's just sitting on top of the clapboard. What you do is you take your popsicle stick and you just run it in between the clapboard. And what that does, the nice soft wood from the popsicle stick doesn't cut into the actual sign. And if it does, if it makes a little burr mark on the sign, that's fine. Let's see if you can see the difference. It's hard to see with this camera, but it actually sits inside the clapboard. All right. And basically, you're just pushing the sign right into the clapboard. And what that creates, it looks like the actual sign is painted onto the clapboard. All right. So now what you do to blend it in is you take a little bit of tanned craft paint and you take your little grout sponge, and what I'm doing is I put a little bit of paint on the actual sponge, and then I'm mostly going to take a lot of it off and almost like a dry brushing technique. And then what you do is you blend it in to the actual building. And you actually can take away the hard edge, and it actually weathers the sign at the same time. Now you can still dry brush this or even hit it with an ink. And what this does, it softens up the color and it blends the sign right into the wood. Real simple technique. All right. So we went over clapboard, We went over metal signs so far. So the next thing we're going to do is this one here. And since this one is pretty much weathered a little bit, I'm going to lightly weather the sign. Get a couple of easy passes. Nothing crazy. And I'm barely pushing down on this. Just enough. Just to weather it up a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2x4s. And I'm going to frame this sign. You don't need a lot, just a little bit. And this stuff dries really quick. That's what I like about this glue. And then you're going to put your framing on. Now you can definitely take this sign and mount it right on the back of a building or on a backdrop or something, and it will go really nice. Okay. Now what you do is you measure out for your side pieces here, cut it accordingly. Make a second one. Anytime I have scrap left over from a Craftsman kit, I don't throw anything away. I keep everything. Sometimes a little bit too much glue comes out of this. That's all right. So you can see I'm framing out the sign now. It's looking pretty good. Only takes a couple seconds to set up, which is what I like about this glue. Now, when you cut the wood after one I forgot to tell you is I stained this wood prior, but when you cut the wood, you're going to get a nice fresh cut line. I'm going to show you how to get rid of that in a second. All right, so there's your sign. framed out with a 2x4. We're going to let that sit for just a minute or two. And while that's drying, I just want to show you an actual little diorama that I made. Now, this is a billboard that I made just for illustration purposes, how you can make these. You can, the vertical supports can be a 1/16 strip wood. This is a 2x6. And then on the back, you would put another 1/16 at an angle, and then 2x6s going across. So that's how you would scratch build something like that. But it's very simple. Okay. Now we're going to do a little India ink. Make sure you shake it up really good. Now I have my own brushes I use for my India ink. I highly suggest you do that because you don't want to mix up brushes like that. And then what you're going to do is just give this whole thing a wash. Now it's going to look dark, but it will dry a little bit lighter. And then what you want to do with your ink is just hit the corners where you made those cuts, and that'll take care of that. Okay, that billboard's done. All right. Any questions so far? All right, so we're going to do dry brushing now. I'll show you how we do it. So we're going to take some paint, and I'm going to do some street signs next. Let's see here. So I usually I'm using regular craft paint, white, and then again, you're going to get most of the paint off, and we're going to take these signs here, these construction signs. And when you dry brush, again, you can just dry brush in one direction. I think everybody can see that. And it just softens up the colors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to use a burnt umber. Oop, too much. That's all right. And I don't clean my brush. I use the same brush. And then I'm going to use the burnt umber on the yellow signs. So we'll just do a couple of these. And it just makes them look dirty and worn. You can actually use the burnt umber over the signs that we just did too. So, all right. So let's cut a couple of these out. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with these street signs. So again, you're going to use your new blade. Cut them out. But be careful not to lose them. So we'll just set them aside for now. We'll cut out a few of them. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We got 6 people in here. Now this is for our modern modelers out there. If you like to model modern, I'll show you a couple different things we're going to do. We'll cut out a couple of these too. Oop. Signs flying everywhere here. Hold on a second, let me find them all. That one. That one's no good. Okay. We'll do a couple more too. What the hell? Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Appreciate it. I was supposed to do this live stream on Friday, and then I was supposed to do it yesterday, and life got in the way. Just too much stuff going on. So I don't know how many of these live streams I'm actually going to be able to do. But I like to pass on the knowledge, what I was taught, because somebody took the time to show me, so I figured I'd pay it forward and show some other people what I've learned. And then when you start doing these things, you start making up your own techniques and coming out with some cool stuff too yourself. Well, no problem, Switchers. I appreciate everyone coming in here with me on the Sunday afternoon. I'm going to do a couple more. What I'm going to show you is what we're going to use these signs for is on an HO scale vehicle. And if you're modeling modern times, I'm sure you've probably seen these somewhere in the highway or somewhere. We got 7 people in here. All right. Let's cut out a few more. You can never have enough signs. And if you have extra ones, just put them against a building somewhere. All right, now that's enough signs for now. So what do you do with these signs? You can make actual street signs for your layout. So I'm going to use this. I think it's 1/64 strip wood that I had hanging around. So let's see. Hello, barn full of trains. Glad you can make it. Let's see. How tall is a post for a sign? Let's see. Let's make it, I don't know, 8 feet, I guess. How many signs can we make with 8 foot? There we go. So now we got three poles here. All right. So what we can do is take a little bit of glue. Oops. I don't want to use that toothpick. It's got gouache all over it. Now these posts, I already put a little wash on them. So I'm gonna put a little bit of glue, and then we'll stick a sign on it. There you go. Now what I did is I just cut the signs right out of the paper. I didn't mount them on anything. I didn't put any glue on them. None of that. Okay, did another one. I don't know how good that camera is that I have, but and then do this one too. A little dead end sign. All right. So now we're going to take, I had one of these hanging around, one of these bully trucks. Okay, so where are my tweezers? Where did they go? There they are. So what you're going to do is you can take a little bit of glue and lightly dip the sign in the glue. Now this glue dries crystal clear. Okay, and then you can actually place the signs in the truck. Like so. And the same thing with this. What I'll do is just hang these off the back like that. You don't need a lot of glue, just enough just to hold them. And then you want to overlap the signs because they don't place them nice and neat. These might be just thrown in there. And we'll just do it this. We'll glue that one right in there like that, like it slipped down. 8 feet and 8 show. Hold on. I gotta get my regular ruler out. It's a little over an inch. A little over an inch. Let me see. An inch and an eighth to be exact. Okay, so we got 11 people and 7 likes. So appreciate the likes, guys. And then we'll do the same with this one. Oop. And the sign stuck to me. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about end scale right now. We got a couple more signs, I think. Like I said, this glue is pretty good. It dries fast. And one more sign. All right. Yeah, it's definitely a different way to model, but again, if you have one of these trucks hanging around and you want to fill it with something, you can also put extra wood in here. You can put barrels. You can put a whole bunch of different things. So that's pretty much it with that. All right. So we did billboards. Let's check it. Speaking of the billboard, it is dry. So that's ready to be put on a structure. And then what I want to show you, just to wrap it up, I want to show you a couple of the buildings I've done using these techniques. All right, so let's start off with So this is a building I did from Foscale Models, Hooper's Oysters. And I did a couple different signs on this. And I put the this sign here is basically outlined in wood. And then up here you can see it's just a regular sign that I put up there, and I put the gouaches up there. The same with these signs here to make them look rusted. And then there's an example of the clapboard sign. So that's one building I did. And then the next one, this one is a kit bash that I did. It's a welding company. So again, I like to do the frame signs here. And then I'll do the metal signs on this. So I use the same sign, I just shrunk it down and made a metal sign. And these are just regular signs here. Both of those kits are wood. Yep. These are two Craftsman kits that I merged together, and I just made it a scene. I didn't put any signs on the back. I just put a lot of detail on it. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much it, guys. 11 people or 10 likes. Appreciate the likes. Thank you for your comments, everybody. All right, so that's pretty much it. Again, like I said, I definitely have fun making signs, and it's very easy to do. Do internet searches, you can pretty much find a lot of different cool things out there. And then, oh, hey, Vinny, I'm glad you're here. So we'll just have to extend this just a little while longer now. I was waiting for you to show up. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to do an N scale sign, guys. Hold on. Okay. All right. So I never did. I emailed Vinny during the week, and I said, "What's the size of an N scale billboard?" So he told me. So I'm going to try to do one. Now, Vinny, what I want you to do is I need you to send me your address, because I'm going to send you this one. This is going to be for your layout. I'm going to cut it out and I'll show you. Actually, let's see if I can show it to you on here. This is called the Wickenburg Candy Company. I'm not sure if you saw this one or not, but in historic downtown Wickenburg. So I believe you have Wickenburg on your layout, correct? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you a little billboard. Let's see if I can do this. All right, let's get the transfer tape out. So I had to resize this picture. Is this a picture I found on the internet? I had to resize it. In fact, I'm going to make you two, Vinny. How's that sound? I'm going to make you two of these. And I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to let you mount it any way you want. But let's... got a little paint on my cutting board, so I want to get that off before I ruin these signs. All right. So let's dry brush these. Just a little bit. Whoops, sorry about that. Now, most of the time, these signs are in pretty good shape, but just enough. Just want to weather just a little bit. All right, good enough. I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to have to square these off too. Holy cow, these are small billboards. Okay. I'll recap the billboards I did. I only did actually one, so just give me a second here. So now basically I'm sticking this on the manila folder background or cardstock, and I'm going to cut it out again. Okay, I'm going to trim this up just a little bit here. Let's see how square this is. Not bad. Not bad. All right. There's one done. Now, how you're going to mount these, Vinny, I have no idea, but there's your billboard. There's one. It'd be pretty simple to ship these, though, I can tell you that. All right. Hold on one second. All right, let's cut out the next one. You know, I'm going to do this one a little bit differently. See if I can do it. Yeah, it's going to work good. I'm going to make it a little bit more prototypical for you, Vinny. Or try to, anyway. So this one here, I included the little banner underneath. So I will get this on the cardstock. And then we cut it again. And again, I'm just using the manila folder for this. A nice sharp blade, so it cuts right through. This is my first time working an N scale. Let's see how square this is. It'll pass. All right. There you go. Hey, Sparky's in here now. All right, so, maybe I'll do one more for Vinny. What the heck? All right, Vinny, you're going to get 3 of these things. 1 second. And then I'll recap the billboards that I did. Okay, transfer tape. $13 people in here now. Great. Okay. Transfer tape adhesive only on one side. It's only on the back. Okay, let's make sure this is square. The name of the tape is transfer tape. It's basically a 3M double-sided tape, but it's very thin. You can get it at Fast Scale Models and railroadkits.com. I've been using it for years. It's great for doing roofing and things like that. $11 people in here, 11 likes. Appreciate it. It's great. Thank you. Let's make sure the sign is straight and square. It is. There's another one for you. So Vinny, you got 3 billboards coming your way, so email me your address and I'll get them off to you. All right. So just to recap what I did here is I took a regular, this is a sign, and I distressed it with a file and just put some bracing around it, some framing, and then I inked it with medium alcohol indie ink wash. And that's mounted on the actual mat board. And we did another metal sign, distressed it, and then we took the gouaches and did a wash on those as well. And then we did the actual clapboard sign. So we're over an hour, and that's pretty much it, guys. If anybody has any questions, yes, Vinny, I can afford the 50 cents. All right. So that's pretty much it. I'm not sure when my next live stream is going to be. I want to make sure I'm consistent for everybody, and I'm not going to promise anything right now. I got so much going on. So if you have any questions, you can leave a comment and I'll respond to it. Other than that, I appreciate everyone coming in. I appreciate all the likes. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for tuning in to my billboards, signs, and more. If you have any questions, again, just leave a comment and I'll respond. So appreciate you coming in, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Vinny, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. And I'll get those signs off to you. All right, everybody, signing off. This is New Haven Rails. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe, everybody. Stay healthy. And talk to you soon. Have a good one.